Okay, hi guys, it's late. I have no idea what time it is, but I just had to jump on here real quick. Highly recommend Benny Johnson's channel. I always have. I've used Benny a lot at church, but I'm throwing this at you because you're not going to hear about this in the mainstream media at all. But this J6, January 6th lie was nothing but a coup to try and overthrow our country. We'll get to that in a minute, but you're familiar with the J6 pipe bomber. All right. I get accused of talking about myself and blah, 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 and yada, yada. But really, my life lessons, I hope, are our life lessons. If we learn from how things work, it kind of helps us steer our way through life's turmoils, turns, and detours. And, yeah, my paradigm is the Bible, but that's not what this is about. My whole life, and especially since Deborah and I have been married, it got confirmed to me back in the year 2000. So going back 26 years when it was finally confirmed to me what I'm about to tell you. My life experiences, for some freaking reason, Deborah's and mine for the most part, come into play in people's lives. Not the exact circumstances, but the stressors or the compounding issues that go along with these things that Deborah and I have been through. I don't know how to explain it. I'll work on that for you because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Watch this video by Benny Johnson. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because it was taken in my neighborhood. I write about it in my book. Here I go again, I know. But Deborah and I lived at 139 C Street Southeast between 1st and 3rd. I've told you this many times. And that is exactly where the J6 pipe bomber was walking around. She actually walked in back of my alley. So Benny's going to show you a video. I'm going to show you a picture here. And that red circle that I'm circling right now, that was my house. The red dots are the road that the pipe bomber traveled. Now, what the heck does that mean? Nothing. It doesn't mean a doggone thing. But all I'm trying to tell you is my life experiences, when I learn from them and I pass that knowledge on to you, I think people are finding it appreciative, or they're appreciative of the fact that I do this. So I'm going to keep on keeping on, and I appreciate the emails and the support I've been getting so far. So let me just add on top of that, some of you will remember the DC sniper. All right, so not only does the pipe bomber walk past my house when I lived in Washington, D.C., I was a lobbyist on Capitol Hill, but the D.C. sniper, which caused us to not even want to go out and get gasoline, his very first kill, look it up, was on an Arizona golf course. Where did I move from D.C. to? Arizona. Go figure. Anyway, enjoy the tape, support Benny's channel, and Julie Kelly, excellent investigative reporter, and I highly recommend her channel as well. I'll put the links below. God bless, have a good night, and get some sleep, will you? Oh yeah, that's me.
Julie, welcome back to the program. It is wonderful.
Benny, I will be on your show in this lifetime and any lifetime. I'm so grateful for you to have me on. Fascinating exchange there with Representative Hunt. That was very interesting.
Right. That's right. How much hot sauce and basketballs and Wonder Bread were you raised with, Julie? Very
oh, definitely a lot of Wonder Bread. No doubt about that. Hey, I'm JAN6, remember? That's
Were you hustling? Were you hustling like Gavin? Yeah.
American, yes, exactly. So
one of the richest families in California, completely set up by the Gettys and the Pelosi's, like the billionaires of California, like literally chosen, like Nepo baby chosen for his job by his power, by his daddy. Oh yeah, I was hustling, man, with my Wonder Bread.
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
Sure.
Julie Kelly's been hustling. We read your entire report. We read the whole thing, and I know that this seems like it's part one.
Yeah.
So, but perhaps there's like a number of things that we missed here. But we read through it all, and the audience is ravenous for it. Let's just start with the top line. What it shows is that Carolyn Younger is, am I saying that right? Carlin Younger is somebody who is changing her story, manipulating her story, and has very strange responses to either media or the feds that are not consistent, and seem to have like one massive hole, other than the inconsistencies, fog of war stuff. I don't know where that all comes from, but the massive hole is that the timeline just blows up what the FBI says actually happened. She said that the bomb wasn't there earlier in the day, in the afternoon, and then it just was there. What the hell's going on here, Julie?
I don't know, Benny. That's what we're trying to figure out. And I've been covering Carlin Younger's quote unquote discovery of the RNC pipe bomb since October of 2021. Her story always was super suspicious to me, especially considering, and we're going to get to this in a series of reports, as you know from reading that piece, we have to really be not cautious, but I want to make sure that people have time to really understand and digest the various angles of this story. First of all, she was employed by FirstNet, which is this public-private partnership. She was a federal employee with the Department of Commerce. FirstNet is oversees broadband for first responders during disasters and emergencies. So she has a law enforcement, or had a law enforcement tie at the time. She also has a background in counterterrorism. Now, Benny, what are the chances that this individual decides at noon, precisely at noon on January 6th, in sub-freezing temperatures with 20-mile-an-hour winds, to go do her laundry at a communal laundry room that just happens to be behind the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC? Then she goes back, and this is part of her inconsistent stories. We can get into the details. She goes back around 12:40 to either switch out her laundry or do a second load. She can't keep her story straight on that. And all of a sudden looks down by a garbage can and she sees the alleged pipe bomb. She alerts authorities, a guard at Capitol Hill Club and a guard at RNC, who notifies Capitol Police. And then they divert law enforcement authorities to the RNC. So, and there's more to this. The timer that she claimed was at 20 minutes, which would have exactly coincided, Benny, with the start of the joint session of Congress at 1 p.m. that day to debate the outcome of the 2020 election. So thanks to recent disclosures production by this FBI to the new Select Committee on January 6th, headed by Representative Barry Loudermilk, this 4-page document details her 2 interactions with the FBI. One, an online tip that she sent on January 8th, then a sit-down interview with FBI agents on January 11th, where she gave different stories within a matter of hours. And this should definitely raise red flags in Congress at that committee, and certainly at the FBI.
How do you even... Okay, so D.C. is a filthy place. I know this. I lived there. I was there on January 6th. January 6th was frigidly cold outside, and also no one was in Washington, D.C. It's hard to really explain. Not only was the weather impermissible for like human interaction, but also people had just fled. Like they didn't want to be part of. There was a very strange energy in the city that day. It was vacant. It was empty. There was no one there. People weren't doing chores. People weren't running around, but people definitely weren't, you know, and this is an amazing photo here. And I don't know why it's the first time I've seen this photo by one of these massive rat traps, because the rats in DC. I mean, it is quite a metaphor there, isn't it? Right?
Certainly is.
Isn't that like the dirty bomb next to the rat trap? Like, who would even notice this? I'm trying to figure this out. Like, how do you even, like, on a day that's it's so bitterly cold? I was freezing that day. I mean, I probably the coldest I've ever been in my life. I was raised in the Midwest. I was freezing that day. It's like kind of behind a garbage can. It's by the rat trap, which, of course, filthy and disease ridden. How do you even notice this? Like, and then what? What are the odds that it's somebody who already works with the feds on emergency response for first responders? It seems a little on the nose, Julie.
Exactly. It's all too convenient that this individual, Carlin Younger, spotted this, decided to do her laundry, went back at a time to perfectly coincide with this really, and this is why it's so important to get to the bottom and expose all the truth, every angle of January 6th. The pipe bomb really initiated the first wave of panic that day.
Yes.
After Carlin Younger discovered this pipe bomb, Capitol Police were notified, Metro Police were notified. They started evacuating nearby congressional buildings, including the Cannon House office building, which was right next to, and you know where these DNC, and of course they had discovered this DNC bomb about 20 minutes later. But you know, this is all within a few blocks of the US Capitol. So they started evacuating office buildings. Lawmakers were tweeting about this, blaming, of course, a MAGA person for setting pipe bombs. And then the breach, the first exterior breach of the Capitol grounds happened at about 12:53. So 13 minutes after this bomb was allegedly found. Now, Benny, keep in mind, and the FBI is still saying this, and I'm
Even
a
though
little
it's been there all
troubled by
night.
this.
It's been there all night. Yeah, it's all night. Yeah.
Right. So the FBI released another public plea last week, again stating that both of these devices had been set between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. on January 5th. Carlin Younger, in the documents we just got, told the FBI in her tip line message that they had to have been set between noon and 12:40 on January 6th because she didn't notice the device on her first trip to this remote laundry room between behind the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC. She didn't see it the first time. Now, you just said that this is not a small device. She's the only person walking around there. She said she didn't see it at noon, but she saw it at 12:40. Okay. So not only does that contradict what the FBI is still saying about these bombs being planted the night before, but also who was the only person in that area between noon and 12:40 on January 6th, Carlin Younger. So she changed her story as to why she went back to the laundry room. She told authorities she went back there to put a second load of laundry in, but we have surveillance video showing her leaving the second time, leaving her apartment. She's empty-handed, so there was no second load. But she had told reporters just hours after her interview with the FBI that she was merely switching the first load of laundry into the dryer. Okay, well, why would you make, seems like a minor mistake, but it's not. She was saying this within hours of each other. Then, and this is the suspect that the FBI claims planted the bombs on January 5th, this hoodie, and this is actually important too, Benny, another discrepancy in what she said. In her tip line on January 8th, she tries to blame, she says that she saw a suspicious woman outside of the Capitol Hill Club, that she passed by this suspicious looking woman. At first, she said the woman was of shorter stature, 5'4" to 5'6", between the ages of 44 and 55, heavier set, wearing some sort of a black jacket. 3 days later, she tells the FBI that this woman is 5'7". Now, Benny, you know me, I'm tall. I'm 5'10". So 5'7" is not really tall to me, but to the average person, a 5'7" woman is not of shorter stature. About 10% of women in America are 5'7" and taller. So why did Carlin Younger first tell the FBI this woman was of shorter stature, then comes back and says this woman is 5'7"? On the nose, she told agents, 5'7", which happens to be the height of this individual, according to the FBI, who was seen in this surveillance footage. So there are many inconsistencies, discrepancies in it. Exactly.
There you go.
So why all of a sudden change it 3 days later?
You just blew my mind, Julie.
5'7". Right.
You just blew my mind. It just so happened to be the perfect point in the video. This is the brand new video that has just been released about 72 hours ago, 3-4 days ago by the FBI, that includes a voluminous amount of new footage of the pipe bomber that we've never seen. from various angles, including the pipe bomber wandering through the alleyway. There it is, in order to get to the RNC. And they say that this is where the bomb was planted. This is when the bomb was planted because he walks. I'm just saying he because I guess I'm assuming things. We have no idea. But this individual walks with the bag, and then so this is what they say. They say in the video he's walking with the bag. He plants the bomb, and then he leaves, and he's carrying it differently or whatever. Mm-hmm. Where the hell is this video on the time frame of when Carlin Younger is finding the bomb? Like, it would be very instructive to have alleyway footage around noon when the bomb was found. Where is that?
Well, apparently there is not footage from this specific alleyway that's available. However, we have captured surveillance video showing her, and some of this is in my piece. I'll be posting this on X as well. We have additional footage, but there's surveillance video from a security camera stationed right outside of the Capitol Hill Club, where you can see her exiting her apartment, walking in front of the Capitol Hill Club, and then going through that alley between the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC. So we have that. So that's how we were able to determine that, number one, she was not carrying a second load of laundry, which is what she told authorities on January 6th before she found the device. There is no indication, and we've looked at this surveillance video numerous times over years, that she ever encountered any suspicious looking woman that fits the description that she gave both times to the FBI, different versions of this woman. But at no time did she pass by any version of that woman. And it's also important to underscore, Benny, when she talks about this suspicious woman, she tries to make it sound like she was a J6 protester. She said she looked suspicious, but she also had the excited demeanor or excited air of other people who were planning to protest on January 6th. Raises another question. There's no indication that Carlin Younger saw any other protesters on January 6th. A lot of these streets, as you know, were shut down. Now, this is different than the DNC. You see a lot of people walking past the DNC. Again, the alleged pipe bomb that had been set the night before, we're supposed to believe sat there for 17 hours before Capitol Police identified it at about 1:07 that afternoon. She never encountered any protesters. So how is she saying the excited air of a protester? There's no indication any protesters were there whatsoever. So it is critical, Benny, for Congress and the FBI to identify the person who set these pipe bombs, whether it's at the two different people at the RNC and DNC, the same person, whether it's still what they believed the night before. Because as my friend Darren Beatty has said over and over, once you find out what happened with the pipe bombs, if it was part of the January 6th operation, if it was a hoax, which we believe that it has, we believe for years, the entire January 6th narrative unravels from there.
How could it be set? How could the timer, that's like a 60-minute timer, be set for 20 minutes if it was planted the night before?
Right. And that will be our next piece. And that is even more incriminating.
Like somebody went and put it there, like, quickly.
Well, also,
like in the window that it was found then.
How was it set for 20 minutes to allegedly detonate? Not only if it was set the night before, but magically coincides 12:40, 20 minutes to 1 p.m. when the joint session of Congress convened.
Julie, you cook. You cook.
Right.
I follow your account. Everyone follows Julie. Julie has millions of followers. That's a kitchen timer. Zoom as hard as we possibly can on that. That's a kitchen timer. It's not particularly sophisticated. You know, as I've seen enough Tom Cruise movies. Don't claim to be an expert in this,
right?
But like, how was that set the night before? How on earth is that viable bomb that's about to blow? Like, how was that set up 12 hours ago?
Because it wasn't. Obviously.
Because it wasn't. Yes, that's exactly right.
Well, I know you're from Iowa, so I have to explain this a little bit, Benny. It was not.
Got him. Boom.
As an Illinois and Chicago, and I have to say that. No, I love Iowa. Both my parents were born in Iowa.
You know what? You're right. In Iowa, you would be using a timer like that to pop popcorn, and that, or to, you know, that would be it. That's how I do. That's how I use the timer like that. But even I, from Iowa, hitting my rocks together, you know, to count the time, knows that that's a 60-minute kitchen timer.
Yes, it is. 60 minutes. Correct. Right.
Okay. So now it's like, so now that we've ruled out the impossible, that this was set to blow the night before, because it wasn't.
Right.
Then what's next? What are your suspicions here without without catching a lawsuit?
Right, exactly. So you have to be very careful here. But as someone who has covered this Carlin Younger story, watched all of her interviews, I ask people to watch her interviews that she gave to only Wisconsin. Here we go, more Midwest connection. Only Wisconsin-based media outlets, because she's from Wisconsin. She's from Madison. She received an award, a commendation from the mayor of the city of Madison, where she grew up and went to college at UW-Madison. How did the news outlets get a hold of Carlin Younger? The same day that she was interviewed by the FBI. Was she the one reaching out? And as you can see here, giddily talking about how she found this bomb. Also sort of odd behavior here. But
Right.
I guess my biggest concern, Benny, is why she has not since been interviewed. It is my understanding that she has not. I don't know if there's been outreach by law enforcement. Of course, this would not have happened under the previous FBI. In fact, Stephen D'Antuono, who's Washington field office chief and led the investigation into January 6th and the pipe bomb, by the way. And Stephen D'Antuono said for years this was a viable, deadly device. It was not. It never was. But nonetheless, when he was asked in 2023 by House Republicans, I believe it was Tom Massey, pressing him specifically about Carlin Younger's discovery and if they had followed up with her, I believe he said no. He didn't even recognize her name. And he said, however, it's investigations 101. The person who finds the device is what? Usually a top suspect. So the question is, if we're serious about solving the pipe bomb mystery, nearly 5 years later, believe it or not, Penny, as the statute of limitations is ticking down, and I'm not saying that anyone specifically should be charged, but time is running out, and it is imperative to find out at least who set this RNC device, because this is even more suspicious than the DNC device, which is suspicious also, because you had 2 bomb-sniffing canine units missed it. You had law enforcement from the Secret Service, Metro Police, and Capitol Police who missed the device, and dozens of pedestrians missed the device in 17 hours, we're told. And Kamala Harris, the incoming vice president, is at the DNC while this pipe bomb allegedly is sitting there undetected until after 1 o'clock.
And they've never used that. In my open here, I said, libs aren't one to miss own goals, right? Like they are thrilled about what they have a bloodthirsty capacity for either planting ops or manipulating stories, leaked chat, leaked text messages, got it. They will go to the extremes, right? To make sure that all of us know that every MAGA person is culpable for planting a bomb that nearly killed the first black female vice president. That was the most obvious own goal in the history of media, right? Like it's wide up. It's so easy. It's dumb how easy it is. Nothing. Never heard a thing about it. Never heard it. I've never understood that, Julie. I know that we've talked about it a little bit, but maybe it's just because maybe it's just this is what I do all day. And I've seen how grotesque the left is at taking like the slightest sliver of an opportunity, right, to manipulate the news cycle and to paint MAGA, you know, as harshly as they possibly can as extremists. That seems like the most glaring admission that something in this op went horribly wrong, that they couldn't control it, that they were not going to follow through with it, that something went wildly off course. Because the other thing about that news cycle was that you would have taken guys like me and even Steve Bannon and Tucker and everyone, all of them, your friends, you've appeared on all their shows. And every one of us would have said, you know what? Put this photo up. I would have said, find this son of a bitch. You know, find this bastard. Yeah, I'm sick of this. Yeah, whoever this guy is, like, go find him. You'd have, like, it's the weirdest thing. You would have had, like, all of us on your side. Like, yeah, of course you shouldn't be planting bombs. Duh. Like, so I don't care what this individual's politics is. Like, go find them. Great. That's like, you would have had this massive moment of unity. You would have this victimhood moment for Kamala Harris. She's constantly groveling, literally on her knees, groveling for her victimhood moments, right? Here's your perfect opportunity to not only make Kamala Harris as like the biggest victim and survivor of all time, but also to like get me on your side in saying, yeah, this douchebag, like, you better find him, actually. Like, to kind of bow my head and say, yeah, find this douche. And they didn't take it. What the hell is that, Julie?
Well,
sorry for the rant.
No, you are spot on. Why has this disappeared in the corporate media as well? I mean, this has just vanished.
What's your greater overall suspicion here with the bomb at the DNC and RNC? Here we go.
I think that it was part of the overall Fedsurrection, that it was planned. And I think that we are going to have some more evidence of that. We do know, and this is part of the disclosures in both the January 6th, the first committee, and also interviews that were conducted by that committee and Washington Post coverage, that there actually were tabletop exercises conducted the end of December by DC law enforcement officials planning to prepare or at least consider the possibility of pipe bombs being planted around the US Capitol. And then lo and behold, that actually happened. Now, this also is tied to so-called fusion centers, which are part of FirstNet. So there are just so many ties that go back to Carlin Younger that you can't simply dismiss as coincidences or misstatements or misremembering what happened. There are just too many oddities, both to her involvement, her decisions that day, and her demeanor afterwards in interviews that, again, should suggest that at least she should be questioned again by law enforcement authorities. And back to your point, Benny, I think this is what we were talking about, Kamala Harris. It is so weird that she has compared January 6th to 9/11, Pearl Harbor, Oklahoma City bombing, just like Attorney General Merrick Garland. But yet she never publicly has discussed that she was there or why she went there. In her book, she says that she went to the DNC. Now, she left a Senate meeting on January 6th. She was a U.S. Senator, remember, at the time, from California. She was part of the proceedings that day. Furthermore, historic moment, Kamala Harris is going to be anointed the first female Black vice president. We're supposed to believe this media-hungry individual, Kamala Harris, leaves the Capitol where there's press everywhere to go hide at the DNC. She said in her book she went there to call donors or call contributors to thank them. Why are you doing that? And then you're still not back at the Capitol by 1 o'clock when the joint session convenes, so you can walk in the Senate, you know, hey, look at me, I'm making history. She's at the DNC sequestered there making phone calls. And she mentions it once in her book and has never talked about it publicly. Just so many weird elements. So many.
I want to just ask one final question, because this is something that is of a personal nature to me, because I was able to be interviewed by the FBI quite recently based on a piece of evidence that was sent to my house, a death threat to me and my family. They were able to take this just piece of paper that wasn't even handwritten, it was typed out, and they were able to find DNA evidence on this piece of paper that came from a printer, right? And then now there's an individual, his name's Russell Isabel Jr., and he's admitted to sending this death threat to my family, and he's going to be charged. He's facing quite a bit of time in prison.
Good.
And I was able to watch the sophistication and speed of the FBI in real life, Julie. I was able to see it just based on a printed piece of paper that was mailed to my P.O. box. And it was remarkable, actually. I did my own FBI interviews. I actually sat for this stuff. There were no first off, you're getting interviewed by the FBI. You lock it in. There's no inconsistencies. You tell them the truth, right? I know well enough, right? That's how they get you. But then also I saw the speed at which they were able to get a hit on DNA evidence on this piece of material that was criminal in nature. And it happened at light speed.
Right.
Here's this bomb, kitchen timer and all. They've been able to ascertain zero DNA evidence on this thing. Was it built was it built on the moon? Was it built in a Dragon X spaceship, like a SpaceX spaceship, in orbit? Was it made on a spacewalk? How? And God's green earth, has there been no physical evidence tied to these things, from these things, ascertained?
One of many unanswered questions, Benny. That's all I can say. One of many. They were allegedly detonated. We know that they were detonated, to the extent that how can you detonate an inert device? But yeah, they have. And furthermore, remember, we are also told the cell phone data file for January 5th
physical
was
evidence,
corrupted, right? Who notified the FBI? We have this new email as well, that, all the January 5th cell phone data files are corrupted. FirstNet. So
Come on.
Another weird coincidence.
Come on. Really?
Can't make it up. Can't make it up. Benny, here's what I tell people when things like this are developed. Is people will ask me, how did they think they were going to get away with this? How did they think that there would be FBI under, informants at the Capitol or embedded in these groups? Or how did we get to the bottom of the deployment of the National Guard, and that Nancy Pelosi and her security chief numerous times over the course of a few days, and especially throughout that afternoon, denied Capitol Police Chief Steve Sund's urgent requests to deploy the National Guard, who were ready at the Armory, ready to go? All of these questions, I say because they never thought anyone would ask. They really believed the January 6th narrative of an insurrection would hold, that no one would start digging around. And thanks to people like you and Tucker and Steve Bannon and others who had people like me and Darren Beatty on early, as we were really the only two. I'm not bragging. I mean, I'm just saying our reporting would have gone nowhere if it weren't for you guys putting us on your programs and letting us tell you what we're finding out. They really thought that this would go untouched, that everyone would believe this was an insurrection and not doubt what happened. And here we are almost 5 years later, and we're still learning new things. And we are still going to learn new things because more documents are coming, even related to the pipe bomb. So also another interesting thing with Carlin Younger, I know I'm throwing a lot out there, but again, my piece at Declassified with Julie Kelly, when she talks to the media about the device that she found, she describes it perfectly. A 6-inch pipe capped at both ends with wires and a timer. Who talks that way? Unless you know what you're talking about. She saw that device for a few seconds. She didn't pick it up. She peered in, she took a look at it, maybe saw it, given all the timeline that we know, 30 seconds. But you can describe a 6-inch metal pipe capped on both ends with wires and a timer. That sort of specificity. Now, that's a pro talking, Benny. That's not just some random passerby doing her laundry. I mean, come on. So, and that's footage that we have in my piece, but they never thought that we would still be digging around. They certainly didn't think 5 years later, with Republicans in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, that these new records, footage, and information would still be coming out.
They deeply misunderstand the autism of the internet. And that is what powers this program, along with the reporting from Julie Kelly. And Julie Kelly has 900,000 subscribers here on X. She has many more thousands of subscribers at her Substack. You can see it right here, Declassified with Julie Kelly, from lucky neighbor to unreliable witness. We look forward to this series, Julie. It seems like you're really onto something. And how does the old saying go, right? When you rule out the impossible, however improbable, you are left with the conclusion, right? Correct answer. So yes. I'm glad that we are ruling out the impossible. So now we need to start asking some tough questions. Think Loudermilk's going to get it done?
I do. I interviewed him earlier this month. I'll have a piece up on that as well. He was recently talking to John Solomon in an interview, and he brought up this pipe bomb and the 20-minute timer issue. I have talked to him specifically about Carlin Younger. I believe that he does want to speak with her, not again, but for the first time. So I expect more interesting developments on this front over the next few months, and I'm sure I will be on to share all of that with you and all of your viewers.
Oh, yes, you will, Julie. Thank you. Godspeed. And man, the truth will set you free. The great Julie Kelly.
Thanks, Betty.
See ya.